Nobody expected Taylor Swift to stop her Eras Tour rehearsal that Tuesday afternoon in Nashville. But when she learned that 300 foster children living within 20 miles of her concert venue had never been to a concert, never experienced what millions of kids take for granted, she made a decision that would change everything those children thought they knew about their worth. It was April 2023, and Taylor was in Nashville preparing for the Eras Tour opening weekend. The tour was already breaking records before it even started, with millions of fans desperate for tickets. But in a small office across town, Sarah Mitchell, director of Tennessee Foster Care Alliance, was dealing with a very different kind of desperation. Sarah had been working with foster children for 15 years, and every day she witnessed the same heartbreaking pattern. These kids didn't just lack stable homes or consistent family structures, they lacked the normal childhood experiences that other kids took for granted. Birthday parties with friends, family vacations, school field trips their foster parents couldn't afford or didn't have time for, and concerts? Forget it. When you're moving between homes every few months, when you don't know if you'll be in the same school next semester, when you don't have anyone who considers you their child to invest in those experiences, concerts aren't even on the radar. What made it worse was that these kids could see what they were missing. They watched classmates talk excitedly about Taylor Swift tickets. They saw social media posts of friends at concerts, making memories with their families. They felt the exclusion in a visceral, painful way that reminded them daily that they were different, that they didn't belong, that they weren't worth those experiences. Sarah had been thinking about this a lot lately as the Eras Tour approached Nashville. The foster kids in her program ranged from age 6 to 17, and many of them loved Taylor Swift's music. It was one of the few constants in their chaotic lives. They could change schools, change homes, change everything, but Taylor's songs remained the same. The lyrics about not fitting in, about being different, about finding your people even when you feel alone, those lyrics meant something deeper to kids who truly felt like outsiders. On a whim, Sarah posted something on the Tennessee Foster Care Alliance social media page. It was a simple, honest post about how the kids in her program had never been to a concert, how they could see the stadium from some of their foster homes, but had never imagined being inside, and how she wished she could give them that experience, but simply didn't have the resources. The post got a few likes, a few sympathetic comments, and Sarah didn't think much more about it. She had work to do, kids to place, crises to manage. That was Monday afternoon. By Tuesday morning, her phone was ringing off the hook. One of Taylor Swift's team members had seen the post, had shown it to Taylor during a rehearsal break, and Taylor had immediately asked for contact information. "Miss Mitchell," the voice on the phone said. "This is Rebecca from Taylor Swift's management team. Taylor saw your post about the foster kids, and she'd like to speak with you directly if you have a moment." Sarah thought it was a prank call. She almost hung up, but something made her stay on the line, and within 30 seconds, she was talking to Taylor Swift. "Sarah, hi, this is Taylor. I saw what you wrote about the kids in your program never being to a concert. Is that really true? 300 kids, and none of them have been to a show." Sarah felt tears forming already, just from the genuine concern in Taylor's voice. Most of them haven't. A few have been to small local things, free community events, but a real concert, with the artist they love, and tickets, and the whole experience? No. These kids don't have family who can afford that, or even think to prioritize it. "That's not okay," Taylor said quietly. "Every kid deserves to have those experiences. Every kid deserves to feel special and normal, and like they matter enough for someone to take them somewhere fun." "I agree," Sarah said. "But with our budget and the number of kids we serve, we just can't make it happen. I probably shouldn't have posted about it. I don't want to make the kids feel worse by highlighting what they can't have." "Sarah, what if they could have it?" Taylor asked. "What if every single one of those 300 kids came to my opening night in Nashville? Would that work? Could you organize that?" Sarah actually laughed, thinking Taylor was joking. "That would be amazing. But Taylor, do you know what 300 Eras Tour tickets cost? We couldn't possibly afford that. And I can't ask you to just give away that many tickets when people are paying thousands for them. I'm not asking you to afford it, Taylor said. I'm telling you I want to do this. I want every kid in your program at my opening night show. But more than that, I want to make sure they have the full experience. I don't want them to just have tickets and feel grateful. I want them to feel like they deserve to be there, like they're just as important as every other kid in that stadium. Sarah was crying now. Taylor, I don't know what to say. That would change their lives. They would never forget that. Good, because they should never forget that they matter. Now, here's what I'm thinking, and you tell me if I'm missing anything that would make this better. What Taylor outlined over the next 20 minutes was so far beyond just tickets that Sarah kept having to stop her to make sure she'd heard correctly. Taylor wanted to provide not just tickets, but the entire experience. That meant new outfits for every child, because many of them didn't have concert-appropriate clothes, and she didn't want them to feel self-conscious. That meant transportation to and from the stadium, because many foster families didn't have reliable vehicles or the means to drive that many kids. That meant food during the concert because Taylor had learned that some of these kids struggled with food insecurity, and she wanted them to enjoy the full experience without worrying about hunger. But Taylor wanted to go further than the logistics. She wanted every child to have a VIP experience that made them feel special. That meant early entry to watch soundcheck. That meant special seating sections reserved just for them with signs that said Tennessee Foster Care Family. That meant a meet and greet before the show, where Taylor could actually talk to these kids, learn their names, hear their stories, and make sure they knew they mattered to her personally, not just as a charitable gesture. These kids spend their whole lives feeling like an obligation, like a problem to be solved, like a burden on the system, Taylor explained to Sarah. I want them to spend one night feeling like they're the most important people in the world, because they are. Sarah called an emergency meeting with her staff and the foster families in the program. When she told them what Taylor was offering, several people burst into tears. The foster parents, who worked so hard with limited resources to give these kids good lives, felt overwhelming gratitude that someone was recognizing how much these children deserved. But the real moment came when they told the kids. 15-year-old Marcus, who had been in 7 different homes since age 8, and had learned to never get excited about anything because disappointment hurt too much, just stared at Sarah when she told him, "You're lying. Nobody does stuff like that for kids like us." Marcus, I'm not lying. Taylor Swift wants you at her concert. She wants to meet you. She wants you to have the same experience as every other kid who loves her music. Marcus broke down crying. But why? Why does she care about us? We're nobody. Sarah knelt down to his eye level. That's exactly why she cares, Marcus. Because she doesn't think you're nobody. She thinks you're somebody who deserves the world. 8-year-old Jasmine, who had been in foster care since she was 3 and barely remembered her biological parents, asked a question that broke every adult's heart. Do I get to keep my outfit after, or do I have to give it back? She had never owned clothes that she didn't have to share, or pass down or leave behind when she moved to a new placement. The idea that she might get to keep something special, something just hers, was almost too good to believe. You get to keep everything, sweetheart, Sarah assured her. The outfit, the memories, everything. It's all yours. The week leading up to the concert was chaotic in the best possible way. Taylor's team worked with Sarah to get sizes for every child, and instead of just sending generic outfits, they sent options so each kid could choose what they wanted to wear. For many of these children, it was the first time anyone had asked their preference about something, the first time their individual taste mattered. 12-year-old Destiny chose a sparkly purple dress because, as she told her foster mom, "I've always wanted to feel like a princess, and purple is my favorite color, and maybe tonight I can feel pretty." Her foster mom cried because Destiny had never expressed wanting to feel pretty before, had never seemed to believe she deserved to feel beautiful. The day of the concert arrived, and the logistics were extraordinary. Taylor had arranged for buses to pick up all 300 children and their chaperones from various locations around Nashville. Each bus had snacks, drinks, and a video message from Taylor welcoming them and telling them how excited she was to meet them. On the buses, something beautiful happened. These kids, who came from different foster homes, different schools, different circumstances, but shared the common thread of being in the system, started connecting with each other. They realized they weren't alone. They found kids who understood what it felt like to not have a permanent family, to always be the new kid, to feel like you didn't quite belong anywhere. 16-year-old Alexis, who would age out of the system in 2 years and was terrified about her future, found herself sitting next to 15-year-old Jordan, who was equally scared. "I've never met another foster kid my age before," Jordan admitted. "I thought I was the only one feeling this way." "Me too," Alexis said. "I thought something was wrong with me for being so worried all the time." They exchanged phone numbers, and that connection, formed on a bus ride to a Taylor Swift concert, became a friendship that would support both of them through aging out and into adulthood. When the buses arrived at the stadium, Taylor was waiting outside to personally greet them, not just a quick wave, but actually standing there as 300 kids filed off buses, making eye contact, high-fiving, hugging kids who wanted hugs, and saying, "I'm so glad you're here" to each small group. Marcus, the 15-year-old who hadn't believed this was real, walked off the bus and locked eyes with Taylor. She walked directly to him, and without saying a word, she gave him a hug. He started crying into her shoulder, and she just held him, letting him process the overwhelming emotion of feeling chosen, of feeling like he mattered, of having someone show up for him. "You're not nobody, Marcus," Taylor whispered to him. "You're somebody who deserves everything good this world has to offer. Don't ever forget that." The sound check was magical. Taylor performed several songs just for these 300 kids, and she talked between songs about what her music meant, about feeling like an outsider, about finding your people. But she also talked directly about foster care. "I know what a lot of you are feeling right now," Taylor said to the children gathered in the empty stadium. "You're feeling grateful, which is beautiful. But I also want you to feel something else. I want you to feel like you deserve this. Because you do. You deserve this, not because I'm being generous, but because every kid deserves to have fun, to feel special, to have experiences that make them feel normal and valued." She paused, looking out at all those young faces. "The system you're in is broken in a lot of ways. It's not your fault that you don't have a permanent family yet. It's not your fault that you've had to move around, or that you feel different from other kids. And it's not okay that you've missed out on normal childhood experiences, because the adults in charge didn't prioritize making you feel special. So tonight isn't about charity. Tonight is about justice. You deserve this." 8-year-old Jasmine raised her hand, and Taylor called on her. "Yes, sweetie? Can I ask you a question?" "Of course. Why do you care about us? You don't even know us." Taylor's eyes filled with tears. "I care about you because you exist and you matter. That's it. You don't have to earn my caring. You don't have to prove you deserve it. You're a kid who deserves to feel loved and valued, and I'm someone who has the ability to make that happen tonight, so I'm doing it." That's how it should work. During the actual concert that night, the section where the foster kids sat was the loudest, most joyful part of the entire stadium. These kids, who had learned to guard their emotions, to not get too excited, to not trust that good things would last, let themselves be fully present in the moment. They sang every word, they danced without self-consciousness, they cried during the sad songs, and screamed during the upbeat ones. They were just kids having fun, and it was beautiful. But Taylor had one more surprise. Midway through the concert, she stopped and addressed the stadium. "I want to tell you all about some very special guests we have here tonight. In section 104, we have 300 kids from the Tennessee foster care system. These are kids who have never been to a concert before, who didn't think they'd ever have this experience, who are here tonight because they deserve to be here just as much as anyone else." The stadium erupted in applause, and the foster kids stood up, overwhelmed by 70,000 people celebrating them. "But here's the thing," Taylor continued. "Tonight is just one night. These kids deserve more than one special experience. They deserve the same childhood that every other kid gets. So I'm announcing the Foster Kids Deserve Fun 2 Foundation, and I'm personally funding it to make sure that foster children across the country get to have normal childhood experiences. Concerts, movies, sports games, birthday parties, all of it. Because every kid deserves to have fun. The announcement was met with deafening applause. But for the foster kids in Section 104, it meant something even deeper. It meant someone saw them, someone valued them, someone thought they deserved more than just survival. After the concert, as the kids boarded the buses to go back to their various foster homes, they were different. They were lighter. They smiled more easily. They believed a little more in their own worth. Marcus, the 15-year-old who thought he was nobody, sat on the bus wearing his concert merchandise and holding his phone with a selfie he'd taken with Taylor. He posted it to social media with the caption, "I matter. I deserve good things. Taylor Swift taught me that tonight." Little Jasmine fell asleep on the bus, wearing her purple dress, clutching a signed photo of Taylor. Her foster mom carried her to bed, still in the dress, because Jasmine had made her promise not to take it off, not to wash it, not to change anything about this perfect night. Within 6 months, the Foster Kids Deserve Fun 2 Foundation had provided experiences for over 10,000 foster children across the country. Concert tickets, yes, but also movie theater trips, amusement park days, sports events, birthday parties thrown by volunteers who made sure every foster kid had at least one special celebration every year. But the impact went beyond the events themselves. The foundation partnered with therapists who specialized in foster care trauma, and they found that kids who had these normal experiences showed significant improvement in self-esteem, social connection, and hope for their futures. Giving them fun wasn't frivolous. It was healing. Sarah Mitchell still works with the Tennessee Foster Care Alliance, but now she also serves on the board of the Foster Kids Deserve Fun 2 Foundation. She says the night of that concert changed how she approached foster care entirely. "We were so focused on meeting basic needs, food, shelter, safety, that we forgot these kids also need joy," Sarah explains. Taylor reminded us that childhood should include fun, that these kids deserve to make memories, to feel special, to experience the same things their peers experience. She didn't just give 300 kids a concert, she gave them dignity. Today, if you attend a Taylor Swift concert, you might notice reserved sections with signs reading Foster Family Section. Taylor has continued the practice of inviting foster children to every tour stop, making sure kids across the country know they matter. And if you ask any of those original 300 kids from Nashville what that night meant to them, they'll tell you it wasn't about the concert. It was about believing, maybe for the first time, that they deserved good things, that they weren't burdens, that they mattered. Because sometimes the most powerful thing you can do for a child isn't to give them things. It's to make them believe they're worth giving things to. If this story moved you, remember that there are foster children in your community who need to know they matter. Subscribe for more stories about using platforms for good, and share this with someone who needs to be reminded that every child deserves to feel special. Have you ever had an experience that changed how you saw your own worth? Tell us in the comments, and don't forget to hit that notification bell for more incredible stories about compassion in action.